Okay. Looks like we are live. I'm not sure if anybody's here yet, so let's just give it a moment. Unstable internet. Not much I can do about that. Hopefully, that cleans itself up. In the chat, I'm hoping that my internet cleans itself up. I don't know. Say hello. Tell me where you're from. You can even okay. The internet seems to be getting a little better. Again. What is happening? Okay. Got a connection. Okay. All right. Hopefully this picture gets back going again. Okay, come on. All right. Well, internet stays working, then we're great. If not, too, we'll just try to play this going on. Leave a like on this video. Leave a little thumbs up or put something in the comments because today we are talking about something that is very important, which I believe you will agree. Okay, let's see here. No, don't do that. All right, let's jump in here. So this today's episode is all about what is going on? Internet problems again. All right, so let's just get started. Hello, all about English Live. Today's episode is all about essential English for business travelers. If you are planning to travel then you're going to want to know these phrases to communicate with ease. So, have you ever been to a country and had trouble communicating with the locals or communicating with people you needed to talk to? I personally have been to many different countries in the world. My first time in Korea, I struggled trying to order food at a restaurant that didn't have menus. That was back before I learned how to read the language. But that is one of the things that you're going to have to get to know when you're going to a that embarrassing experience taught me the importance of knowing some basic phrases before you go to another country, before you travel abroad. So, in today's episode, I'm going to cover everything from airports to hotels and business meetings. I'll share some of the most useful phrases for each situation. Now, I said some, not all. We don't have time for the whole phrase book, but so this will help you to travel with ease, with confidence, and don't forget to stick around to the end. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for that. So, again, this is the first step is English phrases, ports, and transportation. Uh-oh, I'm getting comments that we're breaking up. I hope it gets better. I really I can do this now. Maybe each time I do these shows. Okay. All right. So, hold on. So let's talk about some phrases, transportation, and airport. What is going on here? Come on. Okay. Ooh, I'm a little choppy today, huh? Okay. So let's talk about airports. Have you ever been to an airport where all the signage is in a foreign language? All the signs, there's nothing that you can read. It can be a little bit overwhelming. I went to Brazil once, and I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'll never find where I'm supposed to go," because everything was in Portuguese. Eventually, I had to learn how to find where the departures were and things like that. So to say nothing more, it's definitely overwhelming, and that's why knowing some key phrases is a great way to navigate your way around. So one phrase that you need to know is excuse me. Always start with excuse me if you're speaking in a foreign language or in English to a native speaker. Start with excuse me when you're trying to get someone's attention. You can say, excuse me, where is the check-in counter? So you can find out where to go to check in. Great ways. That is a great place to ask for directions around the airport. Going to the check-in counter, I'm here to check in. But also you can say, where's the baggage claim? Where do I go to board the airplane? Um, After a long flight, look, the last thing you want to do is wander around the airport looking for your luggage. So find a desk, could be the check-in counter, could be the gate desk, and ask for directions. So now let's talk about transportation. Transportation, if you are not taking a shuttle to your hotel, or if you don't have pre-arranged transportation already, you're going to need to take a taxi probably. So in this situation, you'll want to know how to say, can you take me to, and then list your destination. Can you take me to the whatever hotel? Or can you take me to this office place or whichever? A good idea is to write down the address of where you're going to go. So even though it's a simple phrase, it can make a big difference in getting you where you need to go. Now, here's a bonus phrase that you may not find in your typical phrase book, but it's still useful to know. If you are traveling in a country where the language is written using a different script, could be Cyrillic, could be Arabic, could be uh, Vietnamese or Chinese. Well, if you're from China, you don't have to worry about it, or Korean, like my experience in I've been to Russia, I've been to Korea, I've been to many different places where they don't write with an English style script. It can be really hard to read the street signs. So if that's the case, try asking a local, excuse me, how do you spell this in English? Write the name of the street sign on a piece of paper. It's a handy trick if you can find someone who speaks English in one of those countries. Uh, so do you have any other essential phrases or for the airport or transportation that you think we should add to the list? Let me know in the chat. Because there are plenty out there. So here's a question for you. What is the most confusing experience you have ever had in an airport or in a foreign country? Drop a little note in the chat box and let me know what's the most confusing experience you've ever had in an airport. For me, uh, I think it was when I flew to Argentina. It's a perfect example. That was the most confusing airport I've ever been to. All of the signs were in Spanish. Everything was not organized in a regular place. So it was very challenging. Okay. So let me know. Yeah. What's the most confusing thing you've ever experienced in an airport or transportation in a foreign country? Okay. All right, here, let's jump into the phrases that you might find useful in a hotel. When you're traveling for business, you're probably going to need to stay in a hotel. I recommend a comfortable and efficient place to stay. It doesn't have to be 5 stars. Those are for luxurious trips, but it shouldn't be the bottom of the barrel either, because you might have to entertain other people in your hotel room, or you just want to have a nice, safe, comfortable place to relax at the end of a business meeting or something like that. Now, when you arrive at your hotel, you'll want to know how to check in. One phrase to remember is, just start off with, I have a reservation under, and then insert your name. You could say, I have a reservation under the name Dennis for me. Don't say Dennis unless your name is Dennis, but usually they'll look for your last name. My last name is Wilborn, so my reservation is under the name of Dennis Wilborn. That's the simplest way you can let the staff know that you have a booking. Now, you might also need some help with your luggage, in which case you could say, could you please help me with my bags? Or could you arrange for help with my bags? That would be very useful. And then once you get settled in to your hotel, something that you might want to note, when you go to a higher end hotel, especially in America, because America has a big tipping culture, The bellman is the person who will probably help you with your bags. The bellman is the man who who's going to help you bring your luggage to your hotel room. They will probably open the door for you if it's a nicer hotel. They might even take you inside, show you where the coffee pot is. They'll show you where the bathroom light switches are. They'll show you the remote control for the TV if there's any special ways to use that. If there's anything special about the room that you need to know, they'll show that to you. Now, they're doing that because it's a service, but it is a tipping culture. So try to give them a tip for their help. I forget, when I worked in hotels, the standard tip was about $2 or $3. About $2 per bag was a good tip. Some people say $1 per bag, but I think as inflation goes up, the tip should go up too. So now you may sit down, you're tired, you've traveled all day, you might just want to stay in the hotel room and order some room service. So the best thing to do is just call almost every hotel. You press a 0 to call the front desk. That's the operator. If there's a might be one or might be a different number. Sometimes you can call directly to room service, but the phrase to remember is, could I please order, and then insert what you would like to order to my room. And usually input your room number, but oftentimes they have that information already on the computer in front of them. Additionally, you may be looking for recommendations. Maybe you don't want to stay in the hotel. You might be in a city that you are excited to visit and look around. So you might need some recommendations for local restaurants or activities. Don't be afraid to ask the hotel staff. They can be a great resource. It is their city after all. So some useful phrases to remember, or you might go to the front desk, or if it's a nicer hotel, maybe a concierge, and ask, do you have any recommendations for a good restaurant nearby? Or can you suggest any interesting activities in the area? Those are very useful, handy expressions to know while you're in the hotel. So here's a bonus phrase. Again, you won't find this you might find it in a phrase book, but something you might want to remember is there a shuttle service to some destination? That might be a bonus amenity that your hotel offers, a shuttle service to a local place, a destination, some interesting place. Like many hotels around Disneyland or Disney World in Florida or California, they may offer a shuttle service to the theme park so that you don't have to take a taxi or something like that. So that's a nice benefit that you can take advantage of. Do you have any other essential phrases that you can think of that we should add to the list? Let me know in the chat. And let me just jump on to my next question. Have you ever had any trouble in a hotel or in a foreign country trying to communicate with the staff in the hotel? And how did you handle it? I see excuse me is back. Thank you so much, excuse me. We have a lot of chats here down there. If you have a story, I definitely would love to hear it. Write it in the chat and tell me all about it, and I will read it when we get to the end of this presentation. So, English phrases for meetings and business situations. Now, obviously, if you are traveling for business, you're probably going to have business meetings that you're going to go to. And if you are in a country that is foreign to you, most likely the language spoken will be in English, because that is kind of the international business language. So let's talk about some phrases that can help you navigate through those meetings and business situations. Whether you're making a presentation, we've done a show about presentations. You could be expressing your opinions and ideas, or simply just engaging in small talk. It's important to be able to communicate clearly and effectively. Speaking of small talk, next week, because I have been getting a lot of requests to talk about asking questions specifically for small talk, my brother will be joining me as a special guest next week. to talk about asking questions for different situations and different ways that you can ask questions. So this is going to be an exciting session next week. I hope you join us in. So one phrase that you want to remember all the time, of course, this is basic English. Hello, my name is, that's easy, right? My name is Dennis. Now, in a business situation, you want to insert your position, your job title, or your company, or both. So, my name is Dennis. I'm a business English coach from my company, All About English. So, this can help you establish your identity in the meeting, and it establishes your credibility right at the beginning. So, that's an introduction to a small group in a business meeting. Now, if you're making a presentation, it's important that you be able to outline your ideas clearly. So you would start your presentation similarly to the way I start mine. First, let me begin by saying, and then insert your key point. Move on to secondly, I would like to highlight. This allows you to highlight each point one by one. So sometimes during business meetings, misunderstandings or delays can occur, especially when you're coming in from all around the world. You've got traveling and things like that. You've got traffic. In these cases, it's really important to know how to apologize politely. People, oh yeah, sorry, is not really going to cut it in a professional setting. You want to say, you might like to say, I'm sorry for the confusion. Let me clarify my point. So if there is a misunderstanding, I'm sorry for the confusion. Let me clarify my point. And then you go on to clarify and restate whatever your point was. And number two, you might say, if you're late, I apologize for the delay. Or maybe you talk too much and you spend time on another point. I apologize for late or taking so much time. Let's move on to the next agenda. Okay. Um, Another helpful phrase become understand your position, but have you considered, I love this expression, I understand your position, but have you considered, and then add an alternative suggestion. All right, this can help you steer a conversation from going one way towards a potential compromise or solution that will be beneficial to both parties. We'll do a separate episode about negotiations a little bit later. Maybe, well, not today, obviously, but down next month or not next week. But anyway, we'll get into that. So a bonus phrase that might help business is you could ask a question if you're not understanding everything. Clear. So that'll show that you are engaged in the conversation, that you want to understand what the other person's perspective is. Could you please clarify your point, or please let me know, are there any other essential phrases that you think you should be added to the list for business? Let me know in the thoughts. Okay, let me know your thoughts in okay. Okay, so yeah, here's a good question. Have you ever had a miscommunication during a business meeting in a foreign country or with foreigners who are visiting your country? That's a very it's a good I'll get again, I'll get to the later in a minute, but we got some good chats here. All right, some other phrases for business travels. You are going to need many different situations. It's going to be very simple, like I just go to the hotel and go to the meeting. Times emergencies happen. You never know, an unexpected situation may arise. So if you need medical assistance while you are abroad, it's important to know how to ask for help. Okay, if it's not any major emergency, you might very calmly say, excuse me, like at the hotel or to a stranger, can you direct me to the nearest hospital? You direct the nearest hospital, or I'm curious, can you please call an ambulance? I need medical attention. Can you please call an ambulance? Let's stress out and lose your ability to focus. But it's important to stay calm. Okay, stay calm and seek assistance that way. You could say, there is an emergency situation. Can you please call the police or the fire department or an ambulance? Or I need help immediately. And you can put a little emphasis into it. I need help. You want people to understand that you're worried. It's an emergency situation. I need help immediately. Can you please call assistance? Call help. Call for an ambulance. If you're in America, you would say call 911. As the murder thing. If you American movies, you probably know that. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so now you might have to while you're there, you have to interact with some locals, and you could very easily ask them, "Excuse me, do you speak English?" Obviously, you speak English, and or you might speak another language. You could ask if they speak your language, and you know many people, you'd be surprised, many people actually do speak a little bit of English in different foreign countries. So if you ask if they speak English and you keep things simple, remember the KISS rule from last week, could you please help me, and then start going. It's also helpful to know some basic thing for gratitude. Thanks so much for your help. I appreciate your assistance. Now, a bonus phrase that might come in handy when you're dealing with unexpected situations is, I always ask, is there anything else I should know? Oftentimes, if you ask for someone for directions or something, I'm trying to get to this place. Can you show me how to get there? They'll give you some simple directions, but then if you ask for more, is there anything else I should know? They might be able to fill you in on a better way to get there, or maybe fun things to do when you get there. Or if it's a restaurant, they might recommend something that you never would have thought of to ask about. So yeah, check it out. By asking that question, asking any question, it helps you ensure that you have all the necessary information, and it helps you to navigate, and you might learn some new and interesting things. So what other phrases have you found to be helpful when you're traveling around? We all travel. Well, not all of us travel, but um, so so let's see. We've talked about medical assistance, dealing with emergencies, interacting with the locals. Do you have any questions? Uh, while I'm at it, okay. Here's the bonus tip. The bonus tip that I promised, if you would stick around, I'll give you a bonus tip. Whenever you're going to a foreign country, to make your trip even more smooth and efficient, you should, are you ready for this? Here it is. When you go, try to learn, do a little research, just like I talked about last few times. Do a little research on the culture, the customs of the country that you are visiting. Look up things like how to properly greet someone, how to exchange business cards. I know different countries have different rules. Like in Korea, we always hand over business cards with two hands, for example. Uh, what are some kind of gifts that might be appropriate to bring to your hosts while you're visiting their country? Knowing and respecting cultural customs can really help you to build a bond and build better relationships. And that could always help you later on in negotiations with your international colleagues. And it'll make your trip more fun and more successful. Okay. All right, that's really a wrap of this episode for this evening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I want to say thank you very much for joining me. And I'm going to get to the questions here in just a minute. Remember, these were just a few ideas for phrases, okay? And I hope you enjoyed this episode. There are many other things that you can learn. So pick up a phrase book, or if you want to send me a message, or if you want to practice talking about travel with me, you can look in the description for this, click the link for my one-on-one or even a group class on Amazing Talker that will allow you to talk directly with me and talk about different types of situations that you might run into while you're traveling. And I've traveled a lot, so I've got a lot of little hints and tips that I can answer your questions for if you're ever curious. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Remember, again, hit the thumbs up button to like the video, tell your friends about it, share it with your friends, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show that we do every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Korea Standard Time. That's, I think, 10 o'clock in China. So I thank you very much again for joining me tonight, and I hope to see you next Saturday, because next Saturday, again, my younger brother, who is a writer and a professional writer, he is going to be joining me to have a chat about how to start up conversations, how to ask questions, to build relationships in different situations. My brother and I both grew up moving a lot. We've lived in many different places, and so we have had to make relationships very quickly and in short notice quite a lot. So I hope you will join us next Saturday for that. All right. So let's jump right in. I'm going to look at some of these chats over here. Excuse me. There's a lot of little short sentences here. That would be frustrating. Uh-oh, I'm breaking up. Something about Japan. Japan. What do you mean, Japan? Japan's a great place to visit. Yeah, it's not bad. It's a nice country, beautiful, great food, beautiful scenery. It's not my favorite place to go. I really enjoy going to Taiwan. The last time I went there was 2018. The food was fantastic. Unfortunately, my wife was pregnant, so she did not like the stinky tofu or the smell of the night markets, but I liked it. It was good. It was tasty. I'm hoping to go again. Mandy says using Google Translation while they cannot speak English is that one of your frustrations with speaking to others in a foreign country? Sometimes Google Translate is a very useful tool, and sometimes it's horrible. I'm not gonna lie, especially with languages that do not have a lot of languages that are not based with Romanic characters, like A, B, C, D. If you're talking about a regular English alphabet, then Google Translate usually does a decent job. But when you get into Korean and Japanese and Chinese, it's not so accurate. So be careful with Google Translate. I actually find, believe it or not, ChatGPT to be pretty useful when it comes to translating. It's not perfect, but I've asked ChatGPT to correct things or translate things for me, and I find it to be pretty close, much closer than Google. Okay. The hotel staff got a heavy accent. It's hard to understand. I end up asking him to write it down for me. Yeah, that 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 has happened to me before as well. You wonder, how can you? I'm curious. Where did you go that you had to ask the hotel staff to write down what they were trying to say? Go ahead and leave that in the chat. I'm very interested to know that. You also asked me if I am. Are you calm, Dennis? Me? I'm always calm. I may not look calm, but I'm actually very peaceful and very calm. Ah. Oh, stinky tofu is one of your favorites as well, too. Yeah, me too. I love stinky tofu. I can't wait to try it again. It's kind of like in Korea, we have something called doenjang, which is fermented soybean paste that is made in similar way. It's really good. And oh, wait a minute. You went to New York City and you had to ask them to write something down. So I'm really surprised. Oh no, Young is late, but that's okay. We're about to wrap it up because um, I do have, surprisingly enough, I have another class to teach tonight, but I usually don't on Saturday. But I am going to have to wrap this up soon. But thank you for joining. And again, we're going to. The hotel staff was probably I think you mean Mexican. MEX. Yeah, MEXICAN. We'll put that in the chat box there so everybody else can see it. Mexican. The hotel was. Um, it's possible, I suppose, in New York. New York has a lot of different ethnicities. I'm very curious when you were there. It could be there are a lot of Puerto Ricans I know in New York City from Puerto Rico, and they often have a very distinctive accent, and it's if you're not used to hearing that thick Latin accent, it can be a little bit challenging to understand. So um, that's again where you can improve your understanding of English with other accents by watching movies in especially American movies because there are so many ethnicities represented in America. America is called a melting pot because of the fact that all of the cultures came together and kind of melted together into what is now known as American culture. So that's very interesting. So I am going to sign off here in just a minute. I want to thank everybody who showed up. Does anybody have any more questions or comments before I jump off? Any questions? I know we ran through this relatively quickly, and I did cover a lot of different points, but I'm curious, was there anything like a question that you wanted to answer? Maybe you wanted to add some more, like uh, talking to, like, have you ever had miscommunication during a business meeting in a foreign country or when foreigners came to you, and how did you resolve it? That's a very good question. So I'm going to talk one more time about questions because I think questions get overlooked quite often. When you want to know something, especially in a meeting or when you're in a small group or if you are meeting someone for the first time, asking questions is the only way that you can build a connection with someone. Um, if you don't if you don't ask questions, I was just talking with someone last night. It, if you just ask the basic questions, hello, how are you? And you both answer, I'm good, or I'm fine, thank you. And you, 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 it just keeps going, right? So you really need to think about, that's why I'm always suggesting that reading is one of the best ways to improve your English, because number one, you are building your English grammar and English vocabulary while you read, especially if you read out loud, but also because you're putting things in your head that you can later ask other people. Hey, did you hear about this thing that happened? Or did you hear about that thing that happened? For example, I just heard about a big giant bank run in California that is a little bit dangerous to the economy as a whole because most of the technology companies, especially the tech startups and the venture capitalists, are struggling through that. They kept all of their deposits in there, and the bank failed, and now there are companies that are worried that they'll be able to make payroll this month or this week. So, so let's see. So here's a good question. Two good questions, really quick. Mandy says, "Will it be impolite if I cannot understand someone's English due to an accent?" Of course not. It's not impolite. It's natural. When you it would be more, in my opinion, it would be more impolite to pretend to understand if you're trying to make a connection then and then later on completely miss the point and make a bad decision or say something wrong. It's much more polite to say, Could you repeat that for me again, please? I just want to understand that it's much more helpful, and it will help them to know that maybe they might need to work on their pronunciation a little bit. It's not impolite. It's actually helpful, I think, in my opinion. Now, some people are offended by everything, though. So just understand that there might be someone who gets offended, but that's not everyone. And so don't worry too much about things like that. I see one more here. How to wrap up a meeting, like how to end. How to wrap something up, like in a bow. Well, here's how I wrap up a meeting. I start with a sincere thank you. Thank you very much for joining me today, just like I'm doing right now. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them right now. So always open the floor to questions. And if there are no more questions, I will see everyone again next time. So that's really as simple as that. When you finish all of the points of your meeting, just wrap it up. You don't have to be long-winded. You don't have to talk too much. And if you don't have time for questions, you might say, we've answered all the questions that we have time for. If you have more questions, please email me at such and such an email address. And you just put your email address at the bottom of the slide or hand out your business card. And that way people can email you their questions. So that's basically how I do it. And on that note, speaking of wrapping up a meeting, I'm going to wrap up this session. I want to say thank you very much for joining me this evening. I really enjoy the extra input and the other people that have come in to join. And if you are one of my students, I'll see you in class. If you are not one of my students, remember, you can go to the link in the description and click on one-on-one class or group class on Amazing Talker to join me and pick my brain for all of the other things that I know about. Okay, we'll see you next time. Have a great night and a good weekend.